From broke to millionaire, the real journey most don't talk about. Have you ever sat in your room, staring at the ceiling, wondering, why does it feel like I'm working harder than ever, but going nowhere? Maybe you've checked your bank account and felt that sting in your chest, the one that comes from knowing the bills are due and the money just isn't there. Or maybe you've looked around at other people your age and thought, what am I doing wrong? If that's you, or if it's ever been you, you're not alone. So many of us were taught that if we just worked hard, kept our heads down, and played by the rules, life would eventually reward us. But here's the truth, the journey from broke to millionaire is not a straight path, and most of what you've been told about it leaves out the parts that matter most. Today, we're not going to talk about overnight success stories, lucky breaks, or flashy lifestyles. We're going to talk about the real path. The messy, unfiltered, often frustrating journey that real people take, people who start with nothing and still manage to build wealth, one smart step at a time. Because the truth is, most self-made millionaires didn't get there through some secret shortcut. They didn't win the lottery or wait for a miracle. They made intentional shifts, in their mindset, their habits, and how they saw themselves, and that's what changed everything. Let's start at the beginning, with something almost no one talks about, your relationship with money when you're broke. When you don't have enough, money becomes emotional. Every dollar feels like it carries the weight of 100 decisions. Do I buy groceries, pay off the card, or fix my car so I can keep working? Living paycheck to paycheck isn't just stressful, it shapes your entire view of what's possible. It becomes hard to think long-term when you're constantly trying to survive the short term. I get it. I've been there. And if you're still in that place, the first shift isn't about earning more, it's about changing how you see yourself in relation to money. Because the truth is, being broke isn't just about not having money. It's about feeling powerless over it. And the moment you decide to take back that power, even if you're starting with $5 to your name, something starts to change. So what's the first thing that needs to happen? You have to stop seeing yourself as broke and start seeing yourself as building. That shift alone can change everything. When you're broke, every decision feels like damage control. When you're building, every decision becomes an investment, even if it's small. Think about that. Let me give you an example. There was a time when I was making just enough to scrape by. I didn't have a budget, I didn't track my spending, and I honestly believed budgeting was for people who already had money. But one day, I realized, millionaires budget. People who are serious about money know where it's going. So why wasn't I doing the same? I pulled out a notebook, literally just a $2 spiral notebook, and started tracking every single dollar. Not to guilt myself, not to shame myself, but to understand. Within a few weeks, I started noticing patterns. I saw where $10 here and $20 there were disappearing into things that didn't even matter to me. That's when I realized the money was already there. I just wasn't in control of it. And that was my first win. That brings me to the second thing that most people overlook. Income is only part of the equation, ownership is where the wealth is. You can work 40, 50, 60 hours a week and still stay broke if all you're doing is trading time for money. That's the trap. And the people who escape it? They figure out how to own things. Skills. Assets. Time. Ownership is what separates those who just get by from those who build wealth. Let's take skills, for example. If you're in your 20s or 30s right now and you're not investing in building high-value skills, not just degrees, but skills that the market actually pays well for, you're going to stay stuck. Period. I'm talking about copywriting, coding, sales, digital marketing, project management, even trades like welding or electrical work, the kind of skills that open doors and pay you for results, not just hours. I didn't start out with those skills. I had to learn them, mostly on YouTube, sometimes through free courses, sometimes by just saying yes to opportunities one wasn't qualified for and learning on the job. But every new skill gave me more leverage. And leverage is the name of the game when you're climbing out of a financial hole. Here's the third piece, and it's probably the most uncomfortable. You have to unlearn a lot of what you were taught about money. If you grew up being told that money was evil, or that rich people are selfish, or that wanting more is greedy, that mindset will sabotage you every time. You'll unconsciously push wealth away, even while you say you want it. I had to do a full reset. I started reading books by people who had actually built wealth. Not just theory, real stories. I listened to podcasts during my commute. I followed entrepreneurs online. I filled my head with new perspectives until the old beliefs started to crack. And slowly, I realized that wealth isn't about greed. It's about freedom. Options. Generational impact. That's worth chasing. So if you're watching this and thinking, I don't even know where to start here. Decide that you're not stuck. You're starting. Decide that you're not broke. You're building. Decide that you're not behind. You're on your way. This journey isn't easy. It's not quick. But it's real. And if you're willing to start small, stay consistent, and keep showing up, even on the days when nothing seems to be working, the shift will happen. And once that shift begins, everything changes. So there you are, you've made the mental shift. You've stopped seeing yourself as stuck and started seeing yourself as someone in the process of building. That alone puts you ahead of 90% of people who stay in survival mode their whole lives. But now comes the part that really tests you, the grind phase. The phase where you're doing the work, but the results haven't caught up yet. This is the part no one posts about on Instagram. No Lamborghinis, no beach laptops, no big wins yet. Just long days, tight budgets, and a lot of questions like, is this even working? But this is also the part that separates those who make it from those who don't. Because building wealth isn't glamorous at first. It's repetitive. It's quiet. And it often feels invisible. I remember those nights working 2 jobs, coming home exhausted, and still forcing myself to put in 1 more hour on a side hustle. Not because it was paying off yet, it wasn't, but because I knew that consistency beats intensity every single time. Anyone can hustle for a day. Very few people can stick with it for a year. That's where your second big breakthrough happens. You stop chasing motivation and start building discipline. Motivation is like a spark, it gets you going. But discipline is the engine. Motivation will disappear the moment life gets hard. And life will get hard. You'll get tired. Your friends won't understand why you're not going out as much. You'll have moments where you feel like a fraud. That's normal. But when discipline kicks in, you show up anyway. You keep learning. You keep building. You keep saying no to things that drain your time and yes to things that compound over time. And speaking of compounding, that's your third major milestone, learning how to think long-term, even when you're living paycheck to paycheck. I know how hard this part is. When money is tight, it feels almost cruel to talk about the future. You're trying to get through this week, not 5 years from now. But here's what I learned, and I promise this is real. People who build wealth aren't smarter, or luckier, or more talented. They're just better at delaying gratification. They know that saving $100 now won't change their life this week, but doing it every month for 3 years will. They know that turning down a flashy purchase today means having real freedom tomorrow. That mindset is powerful. For me, it started small. I created what I called a freedom fund. Just $25 a week at first. I told myself it was money that belonged to my future, not to bills, not to stress spending, but to freedom. That little account grew slower than I wanted, but every time I added to it, I felt stronger. Not richer, stronger. Like I was finally in control of something that used to control me. That brings us to the next critical shift, and this one changes the game completely. You start seeing time as more valuable than money. When you're broke, it's easy to spend hours trying to save a few dollars. Driving across town for cheaper gas. Searching for coupon codes for 45 minutes. Don't get me wrong, being intentional with money matters. But millionaires don't just save money. They leverage time. That means asking yourself, what tasks are keeping me busy but not moving me forward? What's costing me time that I'll never get back? Once you realize time is your most precious asset, you stop trading it so cheaply. You stop binging content that doesn't teach you anything. You stop wasting hours on people who drain your energy. You stop giving away the hours of your life for things that won't matter next week, let alone next year. Instead, you start investing your time the same way you invest money, with intention. You learn. You network. You build. You create things that keep working even when you're sleeping. And that leads directly into another truth no one likes to admit. Most people won't understand what you're doing, and that's okay. When you're grinding in silence, skipping nights out, waking up early to learn new skills, or spending weekends working instead of partying, people will question you. They'll say you're doing too much. That you're changing. That you need to live a little. But here's the thing, you're not building the life they want. You're building the life you want. And sometimes, that means walking a road alone before anyone sees where it's leading. I've lost friends. I've had people laugh at my ideas. I've had people tell me to be realistic. And honestly, some of those voices still echo in my head from time to time. But they don't drive the car anymore. Because I've seen what happens when you stick with it long enough to prove them wrong. Eventually, your results speak louder than your words ever could. Now, none of this happens overnight. And that's why the next step is probably the hardest, but it's also the one that makes everything else possible. You have to stay in the game long enough for things to start compounding. Whether you're building a skill, growing a business, investing in yourself, or stacking small wins, the real magic happens after everyone else gives up. That's where compound growth starts to kick in. At first, you won't see anything. Then, you'll notice a small change, a new client, a higher paycheck, a chance to freelance, a surprise opportunity. And then another. And then another. Slowly at first. Then faster. But you have to be there when it happens. You have to be in the game. You've stayed in the game. You've built discipline. You've started seeing money differently, your time differently, even yourself differently. And maybe, for the first time, you're feeling momentum. You're not where you want to be yet, but things are finally starting to shift. Opportunities are showing up. People are taking notice. Your confidence is growing, and so is your bank account, maybe slowly, but it's happening. This is the part where most people think, okay, I've made it. But the truth is, this is where the real journey begins, not just the journey of making money, but the journey of keeping it and growing it sustainably. Because becoming a millionaire isn't the finish line. It's just another level of the game, and it comes with its own challenges, fears, and growth. That's why the next shift is so crucial. You have to start thinking like a steward, not just an earner. When you're broke, your focus is survival. When you're building, your focus is hustle. But when wealth starts coming in, your focus has to shift to responsibility. Not in a boring, restrictive way, but in a powerful, liberating way. Because money isn't just something to use. It's something to manage. Something to protect. Something to multiply. I learned this the hard way. The first time I had a 5-figure month, I felt invincible. I celebrated. I upgraded my stuff. I said yes to a lot of things I didn't need because I thought the money would keep coming in forever. Spoiler, it didn't. A few months later, my income dropped. Not because I wasn't working hard, but because I hadn't built any systems. I was running on energy, not structure. That's when I realized, being rich for a moment isn't the goal. Being wealthy for life, that's the goal. And that requires a whole new level of thinking. So I started setting up systems. Automating savings. Investing consistently. Setting boundaries with spending. Keeping my lifestyle below my income, even as my income grew. It wasn't glamorous. But that's what real wealth is: peace. Control. Freedom. That leads into the next realization most people aren't prepared for. Your identity has to evolve as your income evolves. You can't keep thinking like the broke you when you're building wealth. And yet, so many people get stuck there. They still feel unworthy. They sabotage good opportunities. They downplay their value. Or they hang on to habits, relationships, or environments that pull them back into the old version of themselves. Letting go of the old you can feel scary. But it's necessary. You're not abandoning who you were, you're graduating from it. And that's a beautiful thing. There was a point where I had to stop asking, what would the broke version of me do, and start asking, what would the millionaire version of me do? Would that version sleep in every day, avoid difficult conversations, waste hours on things that don't matter? No. That version would think bigger. Move with purpose. Protect their energy. Show up even when it's uncomfortable. So I started aligning my daily habits with the person I wanted to become. Not perfectly, not all at once, but consistently. Because at the end of the day, success isn't about what you have. It's about who you become. And finally, there's one last piece to this journey, the part that makes it all worth it. You realize that wealth is not just about you. When you're broke, everything feels personal. Your struggle. Your bills. Your pain. But when you build wealth, real, sustainable wealth, you unlock the power to change other people's lives, not just your own. That's when it hits you, you can hire people. You can invest in businesses that make a difference. You can help family, donate to causes you believe in, build schools, create opportunities. Wealth gives you a seat at tables you never had access to before, and a voice that carries weight. But here's the key. You don't wait until you're a millionaire to start thinking this way. You start now. With how you treat people. With how you use your voice. With how you show up for your community, even when you don't have much to give. Because the habits of a generous millionaire are born long before the money arrives. So here's what I want you to take from all of this. You don't need to come from money. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need a lucky break. You need belief. You need consistency. You need patience. And you need to be willing to do the work when no one's watching. Because the journey from broke to millionaire is real. It's messy. It's personal. And it's absolutely possible for you, for me, for anyone who refuses to give up. So if you're watching this and you felt stuck, I see you. If you're hustling in silence, I respect you. And if you're on your way, even if it's slow, even if it's hard, you're already winning. Now take a second, breathe, and remind yourself. You're not broke, you're building. You're not lost, you're learning. You're not late, you're right on time. If this video spoke to you, drop a comment below and share one mindset shift or lesson that's helped you grow. I'd love to hear your story. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss content that's designed to help you level up in every way. Thanks for watching, and remember, the millionaire you isn't some far-off dream. That version of you is already inside. Keep showing up, keep building, and one day soon, the world will catch up to the vision you've already seen. Here's to your journey. Let's go.